Thank you for calling me here. I have no idea, I have no reason being here. I'm not as learned as most of the people in this room, and definitely not as learned as the gentleman before me. A little bit of context. Oh, there is a lot of context, but I'm only 30 years old, so I'm not here to be preachy. I'm not here to tell you that I know more than most people in this room. But inherently, I'm an advertiser. I'm a producer of movies. I own a media company, so inherently, I'm a storyteller. So I'm here to tell a story. But don't worry, the story isn't about me. The story is about a certain gentleman who has impacted my life disproportionately, Mr. Vasudevan, sir. He was my English teacher. Okay, let me rewind the time back a little. And I know this might be boring, but wait for the punchline. It'll be worth your time. I won't take too long, only 10 minutes of your time. So I was never really a good student to begin with. I was a troublemaker. My parents never gave enough time because they were busy with their own works. And in school, the only way I figured I can get any attention is to create trouble, right? Because अब बोल दो घर पे कि पेट दर्द कर रहा है तो मम्मी पापा आपको अटेंशन दे देंगे. स्कूल में बदमाशियां करोगे तो टीचर आपको अटेंशन देंगे. Which is why you will notice most troublemakers who sit in the back bench get or garner more attention from the teacher than the front benchers. Interesting, right? Because the front benchers put in more work. So I was one of the backbenchers. Wasn't really good at most of the things I did. Wasn't good at mathematics, wasn't good at science, wasn't good at physics, chemistry, what have you. Wasn't good at anything at all, right? And most teachers would dismiss me outright. They would be like, Samar, even if you end up being a rickshaw puller, that would be great. Dignity to labor. There is no issue being a rickshaw puller. I would love to be a rickshaw puller. But that was the general sentiment, right, in the class, that I will not amount up to anything in life. So I believe it was in 4th grade, if I recall distinctly, Vasudevan sir ka pehla class tha, and he walked into the room, and without any judgment, he asked me a question, and my English was very broken. I think I'm way more refined. My English is way more refined as I talk to you today, but my English was never this refined. It was very broken, like very, very broken. And he asked me a question, and I, being the troublemaker, I didn't answer it. And he was the first teacher that didn't dismiss me. He told me, Samar, can you stay back after the class, after the school is over? I said, yeah, fine. और गाली पड़ेगा, ठीक है, गाली सह लेंगे, सुन लेंगे और थोड़ा गाली. And I stayed back, and he told me, what's the issue? Do you not like studying? What is it? He was trying to kind of poke and prod and understand what is the core issue, what is, underneath this layer of a troubled child, what it is that is really preventing me to study or excel. Again, I don't think I was capable of excelling at anything at that point of time. And I told him, sir, मेरे को मन नहीं करता, मन नहीं लगता, and because my fundamentals are not strong, because I was not a good student in my 1st grade, 2nd grade, it kind of snowballs. Because अगर आपका fundamental strong नहीं होता है, if your fundamentals are not strong, you will not really enjoy studying anything at all, right? And he understood, and he asked me, what do you like doing? I said, I love poetry. He said, great, start writing poetry. I'll talk to you about poetry every single day. And for the next 1 year, he only talked about poetry with me. And the more he talked about poetry, the more poetry I wrote. And the more poetry I wrote, the more refined my English got. And the more poetry I got, the more I wanted to read. So I kind of graduated to reading novels. Started off with Tenali Raman, then Akbar Birbal, then Sherlock Holmes. Then I was reading, I was graduating to Dostoevsky at one point of time. Did not understand anything, right? I don't understand anything about communist literature yet, but I tried, right? And that was the impact this guy created. This was in Karimnagar, by the way. Karimnagar is a little town in Andhra. So when I left Karimnagar, eventually my parents packed bags and we came back to Odisha. We went back to Odisha. And by this time, I was decent at studying, right? And when I kind of track it back in time, that when did that inflection point, when did the trajectory change, right? I always kind of go back to Vasudevan sir's class, that one English teacher in 4th grade, right? That one person, they say in a spider's web, if you flick one end of the spider web, there'll be reverberations across the web. And you'll never be able to tell where did that flicker start. But it has far-reaching consequences, right? So had I not been in Vasudevan sir's class, had he not told me to write poetry, perhaps I won't be standing in front of you today, right? Perhaps I would not have created a company in media space, which eventually kind of, became a production unit. We produce movies, we produce web series, we make 50-odd music videos every financial year. We have 2 platform businesses. We were also featured on Fortune India 40 Under 40. And I really value education as I stand in front of you today. But 2 years ago, I wanted to go back to Karimnagar and meet Vasudevan sir and tell him that, sir, I don't know if you know, but the troubled kid that you housed and you took care of, he's fine now. You don't have to worry about me. So I went back to Karimnagar. I was visiting Hyderabad, made it a day's journey, took out 2 days, went to Karimnagar, reconnected with all my friends, but I could not locate Vasudevan sir. So I asked around. Turns out, 5 years after I left Karimnagar, he had a very tragic accident. And he was paralyzed. And everybody forgot about him. Which is, I know, I don't want to bum you out, but it's tragic, right? That someone who had such impact in God knows how many students' life, he was forgotten from the society. So as I stand in front of you today, I want you to know that there are so many other Vasudevan sirs out there. And again, I don't know much about education. The gentleman before me, he had such insight on how to impact education from a policy-making standpoint, from, your approach. But there is something that Vasudevan sir told me back then, I'll tell it to you again. He said, most solutions are not complex, they're simple, right? So I'll leave you with a simple solution. I think as educators, we can treat our educators better. We can teach our teachers better, because I know what kind of impact one English teacher had on my life. And God knows how much more impact we can have if we treat our teachers better. Thank you, guys. Thank you for calling me here.